Hello and welcome to The Hill is Always Greener, a show where four friends have chill discussions about Sonic the Hedgehog in all his forms to distract themselves from the inevitable passage of time and their own rapidly waning ability to relate to the youth. I'm CyberLink.
I'm GameBuddy.
I'm Faulerro.
And I'm RockTheJake.
And, oh boy, we've got a big one for you today, listeners. We have all watched through the first season, in quotes. The numbering's not...
Yeah.
It never made much sense.
Season 1, Part 1. Yeah,
Season 1, Part 1.
The first batch.
Of
the first bundle of apples.
First batch.
Not the new batch.
Oh, I get that.
Oh.
Not the bad batch.
Could you imagine just egg pawns that, like, the brain egg pawn, the, like, sexy egg pawn.
The electricity one, the spider one.
Yeah.
Gremlins, you see.
Yeah. Orbot and Cubot become Rambo and just start mowing them down.
We watched Sonic Prime.
Yeah. The first 8 episodes that are available worldwide. And
there's a lot to talk about with this one. I feel like we just need to, like, get right into it because, woof.
Yeah. It's been an interesting time following the development of Sonic Prime as a thing, because if you all remember correctly, this was announced all the way back in, what was it, fall of 2020 on
like December.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah. In a tweet by, one of the official Netflix accounts that then got deleted.
Whoops.
They basically
Somebody pushed the button too early.
Yeah, forget you saw that. And then we had a drip feed of information, some other things that got, posted then deleted for, I'm sure, similar reasons. Until, dang, am I remembering correctly that we did not even get the premiere date until like less than a month? It was a little more than a month away. I thought that was
it was
a little nuts.
Very late in the game, and for a while, all we had to go on was like that brief teaser of Sonic, running through Green Hill, and even that was like after a long time of waiting.
Yes, there were 2 very small teasers, a proper trailer, and even then, those were like, yep, it's Sonic and Green Hill, and his friends are there.
I'm sure that's how the whole show's going to be.
Yeah.
And you had an even briefer teaser of a mysterious orange ball that's rolling around for like what feels like 20 seconds, and then in the last 2 seconds, it's Shadow. Goodbye.
Yeah. Shadow saying, "F this rock in particular."
It took a long time before we knew the cast, and even longer until we knew who the cast was actually playing.
Yeah.
We did not find that stuff out until very late in the game.
I thought we got the one single line from Sonic, and we're like, I don't think that's Roger. And then not too long after that, kind of got some details on, and it's going to be a Canada-based cast, and it's some names you know, and they didn't actually, like you said, assign them characters until like the very last minute.
Yeah, Devin Mack was the only one that, came out because people like knew from the one Sonic line by ear, like, oh yeah, that's Devin. And then he's like, yeah, that's me. And that was all we had to go on for until like maybe a month or 2 before the show came out.
I know. I remember he put out a very heartfelt video that I really felt for him, because he basically said like, yeah, I get to be Sonic in this show. It said, but I'm not taking it away from anybody. And I was like, yeah, man, I have to deal with people that make a big deal over that. Like, yeah. I was curious in the reason, and it sure sounds like, as someone who is not 100% educated on it, it sure seems like it's because this was a majorly like Canada-based production, both in animation and the recording, and they have lots of programs for the arts. Like, hey, if you make this in Canada and, use Canadian workers and actors, you get, money from us to help encourage that.
Yeah.
And it sure seems like that's the reason, which, hey, I'm realizing America almost has none of that. Like, we do not fund the arts. So it's hard for me to really be mad at it, but that probably is the reason why the game cast is not in here.
Almost
at least
certainly.
the English one.
It's tax-related stuff. They save money. They did it. Like Mainframe did it back in the day for stuff like Beast Wars, and I'm pretty sure Reboot and things like that. It's a long-running tradition of voice acting. So we'll trade out the regular cast.
Yeah, even the previous Man of Action and Wild Brain show, which would have been Mega Man Fully Charged, did the same thing.
And like I said, these are Canadian actors I know, and I mean, spoilers, like, feelings of not using the game cast aside, they're really freaking good in this show.
Yeah.
Like, of course they are.
Yeah, but it doesn't carry over the legacy of Gary Chalk showing up, so we're still holding on.
Wolves, I'm holding out hope. Like, Gary Chalk is the through line.
There are 16 episodes to go. There's still time.
And I did do a little research. I did think it was cool. Like, again, hey, as much as I hate their release format and their, not a good company, I love Netflix's, practice of like simul-releasing in different languages. So all of the other dubs for Sonic Prime, like the ones that exist already, like used a lot of the existing game casts. Like the whole Japanese cast is there. I remember seeing like I think like the French and German casts are there. And there's a couple substitutions, and I just, hey, that's why I love the internet, man. Like, there's Brazilian Sonic fans letting you know that they did change Tails' actor and they're not happy about it.
Oh, man.
But, I did think that was cool.
Oh, man, all those Brazilians with their master systems that they still play are real pissed.
Anybody else have some intro thoughts about Sonic Prime, the leading up to its premiere?
I mean, like, we did get to see some concept art, like, early on, I think, that gave us a glimpse of what it was going to be like. And we'd read some blurbs about it, like, Sonic is going on a quest of redemption to save the shattered universe. We heard, like, little glimpses, and we were like, oh, so this is going to be like a multi-universe thing, a parallel universe story.
And then, of course, people were immediately like, oh, he's going to go to the other Sonic shows. And it's like, come on, guys. Come on.
I admire your innocent hope, but no.
We'll get into it. We'll get into what they actually did and what we expected them to do.
Yeah, I think that is more saved for when we are talking about the, our thoughts as a whole.
Yeah.
But yep, I do remember that concept art and people immediately pointing out Sonic's got weird shoes. What's up with that?
Yeah, I figure the best way to approach this is just to kind of give a quick rundown of those first 8 episodes. We're not going to go in as deep as some of our past, TV recaps, because that would be a very long show and we do not have the time for it.
But yeah, and I mean, spoilers abound as much as they count for a show in this format.
Yep.
Just giving you a warning. If somehow you came into this and haven't watched the show and don't want spoilers, then sorry, we'll see you later.
Yeah, we're covering the first batch of 8 episodes that may or may not have been continued by the time this episode came out, but probably isn't, to be fair. Yeah. They said later this year.
At the time of recording, I think the official Sonic Twitter account just tweeted a single image and said, get ready for more Sonic Prime episodes later this year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would hope so.
And they posted an image of Shadow doing his best Elizabeth impression from BioShock and trying to drown Sonic.
That's a pull.
Save the Shatterverse, wipe away the dead.
Will the circle be unbroken?
There is always a palm tree.
Yeah, man, there sure as hell is, man. Okay. So,
Infinite. Oh wait.
Oh no.
Yeah. But, oh man, now that's a version of BioShock Infinite I'd go back to.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that game's bad.
Yeah, it is.
Which one am I talking about? It doesn't matter.
Yes.
Now what happens? So what we got next?
So in a surprising twist from basically every other Sonic show before, Sonic Prime starts off in a very game adjacent world, which we don't stay there admittedly for very long, but it was cool just being like, oh yeah, no, they are like, they said they want all of these different, forms of media to be kind of, tonally, if not fully in continuity with one another. And yeah, no, they are definitely serious about that based on what we're seeing.
Yeah, it's interesting because I know people have said there has been scuttlebutt and talk about Sonic Prime and what it means that it's quote unquote canon to like the games and current series of comics. And it sure seems to me like what that means, at least to me right now, and I mean it could change, like someone could come out and say something. It seems like it does not wildly contradict those universes. Like these characters are pretty much acting like how we know them now. It's not Sonic Boom. It is not an alternate franchise. It is meant to like stand side and side to where like, I'm betting like, hey, if a kid watches Sonic Prime on Netflix and then picks up a game or a comic, they'll be like, oh yeah, these are the guys I know.
Now, if you're a Sonic nerd like the rest of us, you might point out a few inconsistencies. But I'm not sure that, well, we will.
See,
we will.
I'm going to give you a little lesson from my time in the Transformers fandom. It all works if it passes the squint test, where it all fits together if you squint. So it's like, yes, Transformers Prime and Rescue Bots and Robots in Disguise and the War for Cybertron games, they're all in continuity with one another, even though the like artistic styles and the details don't quite match up. But they hit all the major beats, and it all fits together if you squint.
As on the other foot, someone who is outside of the major Transformers fandom, I completely understand that, because that's how I felt finally sitting down to watch Bumblebee. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a great movie that's nothing like those other movies I don't like. But if I squint, I'm like, yeah, I guess it's still a prequel.
Yeah. Don't get me started on that. But the point is that like, I think that there might be a few minor details here and there that might not line up with what we think is quote unquote the Prime canon, not to be confused with the Prime canon. God, this is going to be confusing. But basically what I'm saying is don't sweat the small stuff. Like there's nothing, as far as we can tell, there's nothing like super duper contradictory in there that doesn't means it couldn't just get squeezed in there with a little elbow grease.
I mean, like, if you really wanted to get down to it, Rouge, we're getting a little into it. Rouge being a member of the crew, essentially, or at least that's what it was going to be, isn't too unusual. She's not a bad person, but...
And they do have a line in that first episode that like she lays out her like, oh yeah, I've been looking for this big jewel and heard it was near here, so I figured I'd get you guys to help me find it. So they laid the groundwork. I think little stuff like that is why that Ian Flynn and Ryan Hamlin are listed in the credits as story consultants, because I bet there was lots of back and forth of like, like when that came up, like, oh, we want to include Rouge, and like, would she want to hang out with these guys? And and I'm sure that line came from that discussion.
Yeah.
And then we would have a flashback later on that she's just hanging out with them for no good reason other than fun. So it's just the
only thing she does in that flashback is bust Sonic and Knuckles for lying to Amy. So I still think that's in character.
True. Yeah, there are lots of little things like that like I said, like to make it in congruous like that.
And it's not like Knuckles really spends that much time on Angel Island anymore, even in the recent games. Yeah. So I guess it's fine that he just lives in Green Hill now. I mean, maybe he goes there every now and then. We don't know. We don't know his life. We don't know his story.
And again, we are getting ahead of ourselves, but they sure do have a pixel art styled flashback to the Hidden Palace zone where Knuckles is. So
yeah, I guess.
So, okay, the first episode, which is double length, it's 40 minutes. All the other ones are about 20 minutes or so. Forgetting that, there is about 5 minutes of credits because, hey, good on Netflix. They list every single dubbing studio involved in this.
Yep, all the international versions.
But it does open up with I'm Sonic the Hedgehog, and a little bit of a like, hey, if you have never seen or interacted with anything Sonic, he's kind of breaking it down. He's running through Green Hill. He's literally collecting rings, telling you about all his friends, including Shadow. And then, yeah, he makes it to this dig site where all of his friends are already engaged fighting Dr. Eggman. They say, hey, Sonic, be careful. Don't break that big crystal. And that's exactly what Sonic does, accidentally.
Sonic like, let me smash.
Yes. And he ends up, in some kind of shattered universe area before waking up in this very red and yellow orange tinged dystopian cyberpunk city that he sees some familiar faces, but it's not the world he knows.
I mean, the important thing is that the first thing that happens when he gets there is he gets hit by a truck like in Sonic X.
You're right. Yep.
You know, that's the continuity of character that we need.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, you get your first like pretty nice little action sequence where after he sees he sees a duo that he thinks is Big and Froggy, but they don't want anything to do with Sonic. They're scared of him because the robots, somebody's robots chase after Sonic. He kind of gets away and then like realizes he does a really cool move where he just runs up the tallest skyscraper and launches himself into the air to kind of get a bird's eye view. Hey, also kind of like the first episode of Sonic X, and realizes he sees some landmarks of Green Hill. He sees the good old loop-de-loop, the famous Green Hill loop-de-loop.
The one loop-de-loop in Green Hill.
The only one.
His favorite, straightaways for running out, and realizes, oh no, this is Green Hill, except it's been transformed into a
Green Hell.
Yeah, oh yes,
Yo.
Hell yeah.
Welcome to New York City, son.
Oh yeah, it is called that, isn't it?
Yep.
That's a name.
Very funny that it's spelled multiple ways in the episode titles and the closed captions with a...
Yeah, I noticed that because I had the captions on too.
Yeah, sometimes it's spelled the way you would think it would be because of the egg pun, and sometimes it's not.
Yeah, it's yoke as in like, the thing you put on a horse or oxen to pull a thing.
Yeah.
Which is, doesn't really matter. I even wonder if that's supposed to be some kind of joke. Who knows? But
No, it's some kind of yoke.
It's eggs, man.
Yeah, as Sonic's going through New York City, we get some fun reveals of the alternate universe versions of all of his friends. Tails has, on top of his normal 2 tails, he's got 7 cybernetic ones. Tails is finally the kitsune everybody claims he is.
I know that, that took me a little bit to realize that, that is exactly what they're doing. That is a really good pull, actually, that he is now 9, the edgelord Tails, who never had any friends growing up in the Wicked City.
Yeah, it's all messed up. Tails is an edgelord, Amy's an evil robot, Rouge is a rebel leader, Nux is Raphael from the first Ninja Turtles movie.
Sure, down to the accent and everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was waiting for him to go, damn!
Echoing reverb throughout the city.
Yep. Is it when Sonic meets 9 that we get our first pixel art flashback?
Yep.
So cool.
A serviceable pixel art flashback.
I think it's okay. From what I understand, they also did this in the Mega Man show that Man of Action did before, and it's like their house pixel style. You said this before we started recording, Luke, that it's not it's not your average Sonic sprite parody stealing jokes from Family Guy, so it looks better than that.
Yeah.
It does feature a newly entered into the canon pair of characters, the 2 Chav Foxes, as Jeremy called them. Or what are they?
Yeah.
Raccoon dogs? I don't know what they are. They're a bunch of little jerks.
The bullies from the Origins cutscene showing Tails' backstory.
Yeah. They look vaguely canine. But yes, that like we literally get Tails' backstory, quote unquote official backstory now that he was picked on. Except in this universe, Sonic was not there to be his friend and teach him self-confidence and, to build up his gifts. And so instead he became an incel.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, the second half of this show is going to be real bad once that plot point comes in. But yeah, instead of using his genius for inventions to help his fellow man, he created some scary cybernetic tails to beat up all his bullies and show them what for.
Like a responsible citizen.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, so Sonic is realizing that he does not exist in this universe.
Well, I don't think Sonic had even worked out exactly what happened.
Yeah,
at this
it
point.
takes him a little too long, in my opinion, to figure out that I'm in another universe. I don't exist.
He just thinks everyone's lost their memories and this is what's happened, but no, poor, silly, stupid Sonic in the show.
That is definitely one of my. Which, I mean, again, it comes back to, like, was this show, like, supposed to be a Netflix thing that was streaming? Because I think that's so much more forgivable if this was a weekly Saturday morning, like, cartoon show.
It comes across as one a lot.
It really does.
Especially with all the recaps it does.
Yes, there's a lot of recaps. Like, these first, like, 2 or 3 episodes is a lot of Sonic going, like, I just don't get it. Before, multiple characters explaining to him exactly what's going on. And he's like, no, it can't be that. And it's like, no, come on, Sonic, you got it. Which, to be fair, in the same episode, there is a flashback before he breaks the paradox prism of, Tails warning him, like, I think Eggman's trying to trick you, Sonic. And he says, no, that's no way. And then that's exactly what happened. And he finds Tails later at his workshop and has, like, a very, like, nice heart-to-heart where he says, hey, I messed up. I'm sorry I didn't listen to you, buddy. And he's like, oh, it's cool.
Yeah, like, I think that, like, a lot of that is really helped by the vocal performances. Like, I think that Devin Mack, more than a lot of other Sonic actors, is really good at hitting those emotional beats when they need to be there. And granted, a lot of those other actors don't really have those moments to work with, but, like, props for the really just phenomenal performance overall.
Yes, yeah. It's like I said, regardless of whether or not, like, they sat this cast down and said, like, hey, you got to sound like these other guys, but, do your best. Like, they're damn good. I think my 2 favorites that stick out are Kasumi Evans as Rouge, because, hey, Rouge has a lot. I wouldn't say she has a lot to do in the show. She has a lot to actually say, which is more than a lot of Sonic media with voices. Like, Rouge hasn't shown up a lot,
right.
And Shannon Chan Kent as Amy is also really good because
she of the first Sonic movie.
Yes, the waitress in the truck stop bar they go to. That's Shannon Chan Kent.
Oh, cool.
Also, I mean, too many roles to mention, but your Misa from Death Note,
which makes it funny that she's playing Amy Rose of all characters.
Yeah.
After Amy's had a bit of like a reset, but like if it was classic Amy Rose from Sonic Adventure and onwards, that would be pretty funny.
Yeah. And Pinkie Pie's singing voice on My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic.
Oh,
yep.
But yes, she's my other favorite because Amy has a lot to do because wow, her alternate universe selves sure seem to get put through the ringer a lot.
Yeah. After, meeting Tails, Sonic's already been getting chased around by whoever is in charge of New York City. Gee, I wonder who it could be.
Huh.
But the two of them end up getting caught and brought before... I don't even know where to begin with this. The Chaos
Council.
5 alternate versions of Dr. Eggman that I have mixed feelings, let's say.
No, sir. I don't like it.
I don't hate them because they're funny, but I don't really get them. They
yeah.
Are they like Robotnik from different eras? Are they Robotnik from different
We were just talking about that before the show. We have no idea. Like, the
and
show
I don't get their names either.
No.
I vaguely get it. Like, Dr. Dunnett, because he's old, he's already done everything. Dr. Babel, the baby, please get rid of him forever.
Hate that. I hate
Throw
that
him into the sun.
baby.
I watched the show with a group, and everybody agreed the baby is the worst, and they need to get rid of him.
I do want to say, okay, the cast is very good. God bless Vincent Tong for being all over this show as various extras, including most 3/4 of the Knuckleses in this show. And I noticed because he says no words, I think he is Dr. Babel in every international version of the show that I've watched, which is pretty cool. Yeah. But yeah, man, he was just doing what he was told. But yeah, I don't like that damn baby. We see more of Dr. Babel and Dr. Deep than Mr. Dr. Eggman, and that's why I don't like the Council. Is I want more alternate versions of Dr. Eggman. I would trade all of these Jokers for Dr. Eggman in Jungle World swinging around in a loincloth. That's what I wanted. If you're gonna have this premise, that's what I want.
Yeah, but I also like the idea that there is a version of Dr. Eggman that is an edgy teenage weeb.
Yeah, I do like Dr. Deep because of that. But while they haven't really explained this, because they really haven't said like where they're from or why they're there. But it does make sense to me in a way that if Eggman's going to like create a council, he'd have to fill it with like people that he can trust and believes in the insight of, and of course it'll just be various versions of himself.
Insert that clip of
the only person that smart is me.
I really think it's just clones. I think he cloned himself a few times and said, yes.
See, that would also make sense to me because later in the show, they specifically state that they have not been jumping universes, through the Shatterverse. But when Tails or Nine figures out how to do that, like once he steals the shard, they've just been using it to power their whole empire. And so it makes me, okay, are these branches like created when Sonic shattered the prism, but then created branches where he doesn't exist because he's, immune to it. And, spoilers for coming up. So is Shadow because he was there too and fired off a chaos control right in the middle of everything.
Yeah. My guess is they are either all the same Eggman from different time periods in that universe brought together through time travel, a la Generations, or Mr. Dr. Eggman is the only real one. The other four are robots.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like
that really makes sense. Like you said, clones or robots or I don't know. It seems like it's in these first 8 episodes. It is a concept that they could have done more with. Like
Big Boss prediction. They're all robots, and Orbot and Cubot are controlling them.
Because they are also in this show.
Yeah,
for
like 5 episodes.
Yep.
Because across the whole Sonic Media multiverse, you gotta have Orbot and Cubot now, even in Sonic Boom. So they're there. It's not for very long.
To finish up this first big episode, like we meet the council. They realize that Sonic is somehow connected to the same energy that is coming after their powerful city core. And so, the last thing we see is they put Sonic through this like terrible, almost reminds me of like Portal, like gauntlet to see just how much energy he can give off.
Administered by their enforcer, Rusty Rose, who might be the coolest of all of the alternate character designs in the show.
Yes, I almost said Terminator. It's more like a Fallout New Vegas cyborg Amy. It's really cool that like she is obviously like had 2/3 of her body replaced with parts, but also that they haven't exactly been keeping up with her maintenance. Like, I mean, her name's Rusty Rose for a reason.
Yeah,
I really like the design, even if part of my brain is like just thinking of the kids saying, "I want Bunny Rabbit in our news stories." We've got Bunny Rabbit at home.
Yeah.
She is cool in her own right.
I'm not gonna lie. The moment when she opened up her chest hatch and showed the Flicky inside, like that messed me up for a moment.
Oh, that was pretty good, actually.
That is another thing, which, okay, yeah, you said Flicky because there are little animals and robots. It's just the birds, though. It's your various Flickies.
And Amy seems to have Amy seems to have a recurring bird character who seems to be based on the one from Sonic Adventure called Birdie.
Oh,
Yeah. See, that seems like another thing that was a conversation like, oh, we want Amy to have a little bird friend. And, somebody said, hey, make it pink and call her Birdie, which is cool.
Not the birdie.
Yeah, exactly.
Before, we get a little bit of glimpse of, the Sonic is also, Shadow is trapped in the multiverse as all this is happening, but we only get that for a split second before Sonic gets busted out by the rebel forces led by Rouge and Knuckles. And they eventually ally with him and Nine and reprogram Rusty, and they all bust in and finally find the shard of the Paradox Prison that has been powering the city. But as soon as Sonic touches it, whoop, off to another universe.
And that is something I'll say is that was basically the summation of the second and third episodes, which again, kids show, it's pretty easy to summarize, but the action in this show is very nice. And I definitely want to talk about later some very specific sequences, that's for sure. But yeah, that's basically that.
The first quote unquote arc, basically.
Yes.
Well, if you like, because for all the people who are like, I really like this cyberpunk world, okay, bye.
For now.
Don't worry, we'll be seeing more of it.
Oh yeah, but I did have a friend who was watching it. It was like, oh man, I really wish they stuck with the cyberpunk world. And we're like, you should probably keep watching.
Yeah.
I did switch over to the Japanese dub, which is all the game cast, because I love me some Kanemaru and all those actors. And I thought it was very interesting that there is a lot of, I guess it's because there are a lot of proper nouns, that there is a lot of English in the the Japanese version, and so it sure seems like a pretty faithful adaptation. Shout outs to our buddy David Evelyn on Twitter, translator, who did respond to when I posted a clip of Sonic is thinking he is introducing Nine to the friends he knows, Rouge and Knuckles, but are of course Rebel and Nux instead. And I thought it was funny that you can, barely parse Sonic's English, but he introduces Rouge as the sexy and powerful, mysterious Rouge. Thank you to Dave for properly translating that for me. That was a very funny moment. I really liked.
Well, as we know, Rouge, she's sexy and smooth.
Yes, exactly. Except not, this one is Rebel, who is she's the Sally Acorn of this universe.
And we could get into Rouge's design and the controversies that spawned from that, but
there's no controversy. It's a great design. Y'all are tripping.
I know, for real.
It is. There is a conversation to be had about the idea of, okay, we need to make this character more acceptable to audiences. No boobs. And no, the boobs are there, but there's this whole thing of drawing attention away from them makes the character more acceptable, and but it's still a good design. I still really like it because it reminds me of a Sonic Heroes design a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like this design is the full realization of what Sonic Heroes was trying to go for.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit more of a kind of secret agent gear, but also kind of cool. So you wouldn't probably wear it in any actual secret agent situations, but it's cool.
I'm going to put money on Rouge totally wearing this outfit in an issue of IDW within the next year.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, please.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
It'd be awesome.
It's interesting because from what I understand, I did find I think the producer for one of the producers for the show did a stream during the premiere week, and then later I think gave the same information to an article about how Sega was very hands-on of basically gave Man of Action and the show people the word he used was geometry, so I can only understand the design specs for the models the games use. So that's why these characters look very much they're almost literally the same models from the games. And from what he said was that Sega themselves designed that alternate outfit for Rouge, the one Prime Rouge has. So it's it's a Sega approved. Like you said, there is a nuanced conversation to have about breasts are not inherently inappropriate or whatever, and that's been part of Rouge's design and character since the beginning. But it's hard not to sound they took the cartoon bat's tits away. Now I'm mad.
It's that difficult balance you have to strike when talking about this. And the root, it's not like the rest of her design has been nerfed in any way whatsoever, or shall we say. So, I guess,
no.
It's a war against titties. I'm very upset.
Oh boy.
Anyway, she's a bat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and she sleeps upside down like a bat, and that's a great detail.
Yeah,
One
that's
of the
so
best
cool.
things that they've done.
Yes. I love it. It happens multiple times. I'm so glad. That's what I said. I mean, and again, part of it is like, yeah, Rouge actually has something to do now, and yeah.
Although, given the lore and the canon of Sonic, does Rouge sleep upside down like a dragon, or does Dulcie sleep upside down like a bat?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we established that Dulcie hangs upside down like a possum. So
Yes,
Oh,
I was
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
say. I took it more as because I think she hangs from her tail, and I said,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's an opossum thing." Yeah, that's. Thank you for reminding me of that.
So possum is the common denominator. We shall continue.
Yes. Hey, it's Jungle World.
Hey, it was Jungle World.
And this brings me to one of my personal beefs with the show is that New York City is definitely like the most fully realized of all of the worlds, which is probably why it's the quote unquote main one and the one that's kind of going to be the big focus. But it kind of feels like, at least for the other two that we've seen so far, they're a little bit one note. Like, they don't have a whole lot of identifying factors beyond it's the jungle world, it's the pirate world, and so forth.
And I don't think they do much to like. We're going to get into it, but I don't think they do much to offer in terms of like, what if this world was like this? Because like Sonic's like the whole thing of New York City is like, it's what if Sonic wasn't there? Well, Eggman would take over and it'll be a cyberpunk world. This one, it's just like, what if jungle people?
Yeah.
And that's not very interesting.
Yeah,
Even to someone who likes cave-dwelling characters, admittedly, like me, I was just like, well, this exists.
Yeah, and it's like there's little enough going on that the core conflict for both the worlds we've seen so far can basically be solved in 2 episodes.
Yes, because it is the jungle world is, which it does have a proper name. It's the Boss Cage Maze, which I missed the first time I watched it.
Yep.
Somebody does say it. I think it's also in the episode description.
And
it is
in
cool.
You can unlock that version of Sonic in Sonic Dash as we speak.
Oh, okay. Well,
All right.
might have to fire that up. Although this is where, okay, his shoes and gloves in New York are pretty okay. They do look like some kind of like sleek modern running shoe that is still identifiably Sonic.
No socks. It's gross.
Yeah.
That's coming from me. It just feels wrong having Sonic's exposed ankles for some reason. I mean, we felt that way when the Sonic movie was first announced, and we still feel that way now.
True. And I do like the cool laser claws in his jungle outfit. They are fugly though. I hate it. It's I just don't know. What was I saying? Oh, the jungle does look cool. It also does seem like you could have plopped it into any action-oriented cartoon show. Like New York City, like you said, feels fleshed out. It does have like shades of Robotropolis, of Eggman Land, of the Eggman Empire and Sonic Forces, whereas like you said, this is just your Swiss Family Robinson tree houses and, your overgrown thing.
Well, New York City was like, it was a better attempt at doing that sort of Satayem styled what if Robotnik took over than Sonic Forces could have ever hoped to have done.
Yeah.
Because they actually did something interesting with it.
Yeah.
But this is just...
And Boss Cage Maze is another one where they don't really explain why this universe happened. Like, I guess vaguely, like, okay, the shard broke off and, hit the big palm tree in Green Hill and then caused that to grow up and take out the entire, like, terraform the entire world. They don't really nail it down.
In New York City, they actually show it happening, don't they? They showed, like, it was Green Hill, and then they took over.
Yeah.
This one is just like, well, this is just how people live here.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of the palm tree, like, also, the last palm tree is what the Rebellion, like, has in their headquarters.
I made that joke for a reason.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So yeah, it is just kind of odd. Sonic does meet his friends. Unfortunately, he does again spend like the first few minutes saying like, "Oh, where am I? Why are you guys? Don't recognize me," and then remembers the last 3.5 episodes. Yeah. Oh yeah, and it's
thankfully that stops by the time they get to the next one.
He does kind of quit doing it, but again, sure does seem like the show was meant to be weekly and not a batch binged, etc. But yeah, so yeah, some cool treetop chase where the scavengers, I think they're officially referred to, chase Sonic before he can explain himself. But they cannot go to the surface, be below the jungle canopy to forage for food because there is some kind of monster that smacks them so hard they end back up in their tree houses every time.
That kind of brings me to another thing with the show is that I appreciate that. I feel like this show leans into the kind of environmental nature versus technology thing that has kind of been absent from Sonic for a good while now. And this one gets back to it. But this is the one where they lay it on maybe a little thick.
Yeah.
I will at least give them props for when this is resolved. It is again like where Sonic realizes, his speed and action moves are not going to solve it, and he actually does have a really good moment with this universe's Amy Rose, which is Thorn. Yep, Thorn Rose, who is the quote-unquote monster keeping her former friends away. And I thought it was a real good touch that, we see it from both of their perspectives of Thorn thought that the rest of the scavengers were taking too much. They weren't planning ahead. They weren't respecting.
They tipped over entire trees. That's a little excessive.
Yes, that is the big reveal where it seems like, I don't know, she just went crazy one day. And then, Thorn says like, no, they destroyed entire forests and whatnot, did not replant anything. And, even when Thorn realizes, like, oh my gosh, in my blind rage, like I chased all my friends away and like, they don't use the word death or die, but definitely say like they're going to starve to death.
And also I killed the forest by cutting off all of the sunlight.
Yes. At the end of that, Sonic like basically says like, you were right to be upset. Everybody made mistakes here. And I thought, dang, that was really good. And also not a like, a cop out of saying like, yeah, you whatever, you just went nuts. It was a pretty nice moment for a, like you said, a very kind of a silly scenario.
Yeah, there was at least some nuance to it, which I appreciate.
There wasn't a, Thorn takes the prism shard and attaches it to her cool wooden hammer and is, smashing up the jungle, growing trees. But yeah, the fact that Sonic, and what he does is he remembers he has another flashback to where his version of Amy like led him to their favorite palm tree for a picnic, and all their friends are there, including Big and Rouge. And, he realizes that, Amy is really good at bringing like a group together and getting everyone on the same page. And so that is what he remembers to get the group of scavengers back together.
Yeah, but I just wish they hadn't had to cut back to that same flashback 4 times in 2 episodes.
Yeah, and we also saw it in the first episode. Like they show images from it during his I'm Sonic and this is what's going on. Exactly. It's really on the nose.
Can we just take a moment, though, to... we've talked about the scavengers as if they're this amorphous group of characters. What they actually are is, of course, the same characters that are Sonic's immediate group of friends now. Tails, Knuckles, Rouge, and Big.
Now, I have their proper names written down.
Okay, right, sorry. What are they called in this world?
Okay, it's Prim Rouge, which I assume is a semi-pun on a primitive rouge, yeah. Hangry Cat, which is Big, which, watching it again, it's not as bad as I remembered. I kind of hate that the most screen time Big gets is a couple of thinly veiled fat jokes because he's hungry. But, I'll talk about that later. If, poor Big is kind of there. It's also Mangy Tails because he is a feral animal child who barely speaks.
And it's kind of funny because of that, because Tails is usually the smart one, and here he's a big dum-dum, and it's funny.
Again, shout outs to his voice actors really nailing those funny puppy dog sounds. And gnarly Knuckles, who is, he's kind of, you know what? This is how I imagine if they bring Styx back into the games would act, because gnarly Knuckles is incredibly paranoid and doesn't trust anybody.
I was definitely getting Styx vibes from Knuckles in this one.
Yes. And of course, we mentioned Rose Thorn, or Thorn Rose, which is Amy.
And her giant flicky.
Now, here's my thing with this. It's basically... I could understand where the other characters in the New York City diverged because they've had a serious event happen to them. But in this one, it just feels like they've taken these characters and be like, okay, what if we did this to them and made them a completely different character, apparently. And so what we basically got is like instead of having like a wider cast of like different interesting characters, they're just like, okay, Knuckles is the paranoid one, Tails is the feral one, Big is the angry fat one, you know?
Yeah.
Like Rouge is kind of herself, but maybe a little bit more jerky.
That is my, and I think also this was, you said in the warm-up, Luke, that maybe Rouge just hasn't gotten to her universe where she gets to have, like, the main character arc. But in all of these, she kind of is just, like, the voice of reason.
Expository, whatever.
Yeah, like, Rebel is the leader. She's still kind of the leader in the Scavengers. She's constantly, pulling all the other boys away, saying, like, don't do that. And it, fills Sonic in on the monster and whatnot. But yeah, she might get her time to shine as in a later batch of episodes. But that's kind of the problem with this format. Like, they only released 8 episodes of this first season, and I hate it. Anyway, yeah, but like you said, this is weird. Like, there's no, and I'm not asking for like, an opening crawl to explain this universe, but just a little, maybe one thing like, well, and this is how we've always lived. Like, oh, okay, like, this universe was created, and instead of any technology developing, like, the people living in it just lived in harmony with nature.
And then the Fire Nation attacked.
Yeah. Unlike the other universes, there aren't any, like, background characters. It's just our core cast. So, like, I don't know. It's weird. I wish we could have gotten a little bit more.
That does kind of beg a question I've been wondering about, which is, did these universes exist before the Paradox Prism was shattered, or did they, and like the shards just landed in them and started to affect things, or were they created as a result of the shattering? And that's like the core thing of the Shatterverse.
Or, alternatively, did the writers feel like, haha, I want to do a funny cave world episode. I want to do one about, we'll get to the next one.
Because joking aside, it seems like the latter, because, Sonic is not present in any of these, and he is also, the cause and travels between the Shatterverse. And again, also why there's no alternate Shadows, because he's, we get about once an episode now as he pops up like in Sonic's periphery vision and just like, Sonic, you fucked up. Which does culminate before, the season cliffhanger. We basically covered those like Sonic does, using his memories of his version of Amy, who is very good at bringing everyone together. He gets them to put their differences aside and promise to take care of the forest and live in harmony. And also Amy's birdie has grown giant and is really cool. And that's about it for that one. So, yep, he goes to collect the Prism Shard again, and like we said, sees Shadow, trips and touches it, and disappears once again.
And since we're bringing up Shadow, I think it's also good to note that, like, throughout some more of these episodes, as this part 1 keeps going, we do see more flashbacks back to the day of everything happening, and like kind of the events beforehand, and then especially events where Shadow is trying to talk to Sonic. But I think it's fair to say Shadow doesn't do the best job of explaining to Sonic what's happening, because he's kind of like, Sonic, you need to think about this. Let me punch the sense into you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, both of them are terrible at communication, and if they had just talked this like half of this stuff would have been completely prevented.
Yep.
Yeah, there is a little bit of that, unfortunately.
And now-
which, I wouldn't say is untrue to their current dynamic when they meet up, is they let their rivalry take precedent over important information that needs to be conveyed. But
it still feels kind of true to me, even like in old Sonic versus Shadow, like even in the old days, they've been pulling this sort of stuff.
Shut up and listen to me, punch.
There is that pretty great joke when Sonic is reintroducing Shadow, and he says something like,
"This guy right here is Shadow, and he's kind of my biggest rival. He's also a real buzzkill. And by the way, he roller skates."
They're air shoes.
It's pretty good. Another joke that is just stated in English in the Japanese version. He says,
ちなみにローラースケートが履いてるぜ。
これはエアシューズだ。
Clearly, you don't own air shoes.
oh boy. So yeah, this is now episode 6 where Sonic ends up back in New York. Oh my goodness.
And even though it's only been like a day in the Boss Cage Maze, weeks have passed because, multiverse travel.
Yep, and it turns out that everyone assumed Sonic, the rebellion assumed Sonic abandoned them, and then instead of joining up with his new friends, Nine took the shard and left them to fight the council by themselves. So while they are making ground against, the council's forces, they've learned how to destroy these robots in a pretty cool firefight. Nine isn't helping them, and poor Rusty Rose reverted back to her evil programming and is not their friend anymore either.
And of course, Sonic coming back and explaining what just happened to Nux clues in the spying Chaos Council on, oh yeah, other universes, more shards, whoops.
Yeah, see, that's because I did, like we said, I assumed are these all alternate universe Eggman that have gathered in this one universe to take over? And it sure seems like nope. So, yeah, it's a little odd. Sonic basically explains himself to the rebellion that he didn't mean to abandon them. He wants to help. They tell him, yeah, your buddy Nine pissed off with the shard and left us here. And they get into another skirmish where Nine does show up. What is it? I think Sonic says something like, and he's got a plane.
Sort of.
Oh, kind of. It turns out that Nine, being the genius he is in any universe, almost, has made a Shatterverse, as he has dubbed it, hopping ship. And what he is looking for is an empty universe where he can create the home he always wanted. And so he takes Sonic to what I believe he calls is the Grim, which seems like this very, this proto world that has not been, touched with the spark of life yet, that he just is going to mold in his own image. And it's a little scary, honestly.
Yeah, he sets up his default Minecraft world and is like, right, build from here.
Yeah, even Sonic's outfit changes again to these, plain gray stone shoes to kind of match the geometric rock formations that are on the Grim.
Tails might as well be like, it's gray and empty, just like my soul.
Yeah.
So yeah, Tails invites Sonic to stay with him in this fighting game training stage, and Sonic's like, no, I really need to get back.
Yeah, and again, hey, like I said, to give him credit, it's a pretty nice moment where Sonic is trying to say no, we've got to help our new friends, and Nine is not the Tails Sonic knows, so he just does not, he doesn't get it. He does not have that spark of heroism in him. Sonic says, okay, well, send me back to New York because I'm got to help my new buddies, and Nine does not follow him.
Yet.
Yeah, Sonic asks him to help, and he's like, 9. Because he's German now.
Sonic gets back, they resume fighting, the Chaos Council's forces. Unfortunately, they get taken down pretty quickly. Nine comes back, tries to save them, he gets taken down too.
Yeah, seemingly has a change of heart.
Sort of a change of heart. He's like, I'm going to do this for you once and then I'm gone. But the best laid plans and all that.
We get I guess one more flashback to where, yes, we finally have it spelled out for us that Shadow is also trapped in the Shatterverse because, like I said, when he was smashing rocks, he was actually looking for a Chaos Emerald and manages to get off a Chaos Control before Sonic shatters the thing. So seemingly shielded him from the same shenanigans that befell the rest of the crew.
Yeah.
All that to say that, like, Sonic is running through New York and Shadow appears once again and tells him something useful and tells him, don't stop, keep going, Sonic. And then he jumps Shatterverses without having to touch a shard and ends up free falling over Sonic's favorite thing, a huge
body of water.
Yes, thank you. Sorry. Although he does land on the one piece of land.
One piece.
Shit.
Yayo,
Walked right into it. No!
Dreaming.
We got away from the 4Kids cast.
Don't give it up, Sonic.
Dreaming.
Oh, I can't do this.
I'll keep going.
So there's not much pussyfooting around. Sonic is in pirate world, and Rouge, Amy, and Tails are on this tiny piece of land and immediately want to keelhaul him because they're pirates.
Yar!
To be fair, they are pirates who've been prevented from pirating for a very long time, and they're feeling withdrawal symptoms.
Yes, they got to kill something. It's in their pirate blood.
We need blood and we need booty, and we're fresh out of both.
Let's see. I also wrote down their names here. It's Baton Rouge, which is
So good.
my
It might be
favorite.
my favorite name pun.
It's very good.
Louisiana.
Black Rose, and Sails. Tails.
I love that.
I mean,
honestly.
that's very good. That's be honest.
There's also it's Catfish.
Yeah, of course.
Biggs is
Yeah.
Catfish, which is sure. And then they eventually get led to their ship where he meets Captain Knuckles the Dread, who everyone shortens to Dread pretty much.
Because he's got dread.
So,
He is the red dreaded one.
finally, Knuckles returns to his roots as a treasure hunter, or at least he would.
Yeah.
Oh, he would if we do eventually learn the backstory of why this pirate crew doesn't pirate anymore. Is that Knuckles was after
The Devil's Lighthouse.
yes, he was after a treasure called the Devil's Lighthouse, which, spoilers, it's the Shard.
I'm sorry, but like if you hear it, I had something in my ear for a moment. For a moment, I swear I thought Luke said the devil's lettuce. I thought, oh, Knuckles is after weed.
But yes, it's in a very covered in lots of craggy rocks, and his crew begged him. He said, "Oh, Captain, we're gonna sink. You're crazy." And he does sink the ship. His crew loses all confidence in him, and they abandon him
And
to
then
the seas.
Jacksepticeye is like, "Oh, I can't believe this! I can't believe I'm in a Sonic show, and this happened to me. I'm going to where else?" That's my Jacksepticeye, by the way.
Not bad.
Yeah, there are there are two YouTuber like guest star cameos in this show, which hey, that's fine. They sound fine. I didn't really pick them out until I saw them in the credits, but it's not my area of expertise.
I just know it's Jacksepticeye's second Sonic role after Irish the Hedgehog.
Yes, I at least knew that connection. Like, I remember that joke, and like, okay, well, there is some precedent. I want a producer to say, like, hey, where did that come from? How did those happen? But I'm sure we'll get that story eventually.
Marketing.
But yeah, they're fine. They're not, like I said, they're not bad, so they don't stand out or anything. But it was just weird.
Yeah.
I think the other one is in the previous episode.
Yeah, Valkyrie.
And she just plays a member of the rebellion that pops up every once in a while.
The old crew eventually does come back to, take their revenge, but Sonic leads the others in stopping them, even though Dread wants to cower and hide.
Yeah, basically cower and hide, and also like keep the party boat going 24/7 so nobody thinks about pirating. There's a limbo contest, and not chili dogs, but sea dogs, which you know what? I'd try anything once.
Yeah.
It doesn't look that bad.
I mean, we don't know what's in them.
We don't, and it's best that we don't, apparently. But
It does. I mean, I would assume it's supposedly like kelp or seaweed instead of chili with some. It looks like some jalapenos. But hey, like I
are
said,
they sea cucumbers that have been cut to look like jalapenos? I don't know.
could be. I mean, they got lots of barrels. Maybe they're pickling some sea life as well. I do really like just the random line from before they actually take Sonic to the ship. He begs them not to abandon him on the little island, and he says, I'll even row the boat for you. And Baton Rouge just tilts her head back and goes,
I hate rowing the boat.
it's just really funny delivery.
They take down the old crew. Sonic is named captain, but he quickly gets put to the test when, surprise, the Chaos Council has captured 9, taken his shard back, studied it, and learned how to cross dimensions. And they've sent Rusty and a bunch of their robots and a huge battleship after Sonic. Now it's a race to see who can get to the Devil's Lighthouse first after their ship takes a beating.
Yeah, and we actually do get a quick scene in the last episode 8, of where they have captured 9, and he kind of sort of convinces them not to just kill Sonic, because he points out that, hey, my research has shown that Sonic gives off very similar energy to the Paradox Prism, and so you'd probably want to keep him around. So, hinting that, 9 is coming around, that even if he doesn't realize it, he's starting to care about his new friends. He also gets shocked with a egg robot cattle prod a few times, and it is both funny and also like, dang, that's pretty violent.
Sonic eventually, convinces Dredd to take up captaining again, but maybe I feel like Dredd's got a bit of a complex going on, because like as soon as he imagines the idea of, fame and glory and going down in history as a legend, he's back on his bullcrap.
Yeah, he seems like he immediately loses his mind, and everyone's like, yay, we're pirating again. And he even says something like, I'm not going to do it for me crew. I'm going to do it for me own glory.
Yeah.
And, that's enough for Sonic because he needs the shard too. But it sure seems like he's lost it. He does like a sick Fast and Furious boat jump off of some terrain.
It's straight out of Black Lagoon. It is straight out of Black Lagoon.
It's pretty sick where he, you see him headed towards the ramp, and then Dredd jumps up into the air and punches down on the back of the ship to give it extra angle. And it's pretty sick, man.
Yeah.
It's like I said, this is a very well choreographed, plotted out action show.
Yeah, honestly, all of the action sequences in this episode are really good.
I even like the touch, even though, again, I think Sonic's alternate outfits are pretty ugly. I like the nice touch to where when he spins up his legs into the figure 8, it changes color because his shoes have changed color as well. We have one last, hey, Sonic didn't remember, to where he forgets that his shoes are like hover water shoes in this universe again, when Dredd tosses him to the front of the ship and says, hey, tow us.
This is pretty cool, despite the fact that this is a fucking pirate episode, and it's the second pirate story that we've talked about on this podcast.
It's okay, Chris. You can look forward to the cowboy episode next season.
I know it's coming, and
I know. Where Sonic and Shadow discovered Maria Robotnik is in this universe, but she's also a cowboy.
Oh my gosh.
No, see, what you're doing there is you're talking about something that I would want to see, and so we're probably not going to get it.
I'm just recycling old tweets at this point. Oh boy. I don't think Sonic Prime is where we confront the reality of a Shadow being reunited with the only family he ever knew. But will we get a cowboy episode? I'd bet my bottom dollar.
Oh, absolutely. We'll speculate on what's to come next, but cowboy is we know it's coming.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We just know it.
So, to finish this up, they defeat Rusty Rose. They tie her up. There are some pretty funny moments where Black Rose and Rusty meet eyes and are like, oh shit, that's not normal. Sonic does make it to the shard along with Dread, who, I mean, is just mad with power at this point. He's cackling maniacally. And he ends up in the Shatterverse with Shadow. And the last shot of the show until we get new episodes is Shadow just punching the shit out of Sonic.
and like Sonic explodes.
Home doesn't exist anymore because of you!
Smash cut to credits.
Punch!
I mean, that's a hell of a cliffhanger to leave off on.
Can you imagine if we don't get any? Like they're like, sorry, we can't release any more of the episodes. It's gonna end on Shadow socking Sonic.
All that talk about the show being canon suddenly becomes it gets walked back a little.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the broad recap. Like we said, you know, we expanded upon, but not too complicated. But that's not to say there aren't things we didn't really like about this batch of episodes. That's for sure.
Like for me, I sound like I've been like really critical this whole time, and that's probably because hindsight, because it's been a few months since I watched it, or at least a month, whatever. But like at the time, I did really enjoy it. Because it was me and Jackie sitting and watching it. Like, we watched it in not one sitting, it was like 2 sittings over the course of a day. But like, and Jackie really like jived with the humor and everything. Because it is a funny show. Mm-hmm. It's a funny show with good action scenes and it's entertaining. And I can see why this is the sort of thing that kids would get into. And a lot of the people who I've seen reacting positively to this in my timeline have been like friends of mine who aren't like big Sonic nerds like me, who have just gone into this and looked at it as a quality cartoon. And it is a really good quality cartoon.
Yeah.
It's just, as a Sonic fan, there are things I don't like.
Yes. I tried to frame it in a way where I said, okay, well, what is this show? And I came away with something basically like it is a perfectly competent action-oriented show for younger kids. You know, I would put this in the 6 to 13 demographic, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe a little older. But you know, the main Netflix kids demographic. Where it is like Sonic characters that are very much like in line with their current game selves in wacky alternate universe situations. Now, what it isn't is a Sonic multiverse story where, you know, like we said, it was never going to be, hey, we're going to Sat AM universe and, you know, Sonic Boom universe, and it's going to be...
We're going to take a detour through Billy Hatcher.
Yeah, call up Jaleel White for a cameo.
Oh no, Sonic's in Yakuza.
Oh no, don't say that, I want that now. We'll never get it because it's a kid's show.
Oh man, yeah. Oh. Yep, a Sega Ages TV show would be... I mean, it would just be for me, and it would just be for a handful of people, that's for sure.
And by the end, Sonic is forklift certified.
Yes. But yeah, what the show also isn't is like we don't really see a ton of like game specific stuff brought up. Like, yes, Shadow has a Chaos Emerald and Sonic is collecting rings, but also, yeah, that's the thing. Why is Sonic picking up rings? Because they never show back up again after the fight with Eggman before the prism shatters. Like,
I guess they're specific to Sonic's world, is what they try to imply, is because he says there's no rings in any of these other worlds. So that's just an indicator that it's Sonic's world where he needs them, because they operate like they do in the games. He gets hit and he loses them.
But this is still like the closest we have ever come to games, Boom notwithstanding, where they rewrote the games in the TV show to be in line with each other.
Because they've never done that before with the rings. Like that, like weirdly, that's the sticking point. Is like, Sonic collects rings in this one. You know, like in the games. For some reason, like even STC didn't stick to that for very long.
Yeah, or it's not even Sonic X, the most like game adjacent thing, was like, no, they're a very specific thing that gives Sonic a power boost. He doesn't.
Yeah, just like Satam.
Yep. You know, a power ring, if you will.
He doesn't like pick them up to get an extra hit, just like the video game. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, in this, it serves as a purpose to get him away from the battlefield, because that also comes back up again as Sonic feels like, oh, you know, I was too late because I wasn't listening to my friends. And he has a weird moment in that, I think it's still the first episode, where he thinks he has deja vu with the same thing, going to rescue his pals back in New York, and I don't know, it's kind of weird. I don't really see the purpose to that. It's like, oh, I'm having a flashback and it's all going to happen again, except it doesn't. The shard doesn't get reshattered, but I don't know. Maybe I'm nitpicking too much on that, and they just did it because it was cool. And so, a little kid can point at the screen and go, "Oh no, it is happening again." You know what I'm saying?
I get you.
We dunk on little kids a lot in this show. I've come to notice.
Well, I don't think that's a dunk. I'm saying that I'm saying that through the eyes of like I would have absolutely thought that as like putting myself into my 13 year old self or younger would have said like, oh yeah, it's happening again, Sonic, oh no, and it's not badly executed. Like that's another thing I will say I really like about this show. Like I'm serious when the action is very well plotted out. There is some bitchin' cool shots in this show.
Absolutely.
There's a reason the one where Sonic hops down the stairwell was in the trailer, because that is a cool shot. I love the follow-up to that where he's after he's taught the rebels how to Sonic spin, which is also cool.
But only Tails and Knuckles, because they're the only ones who are allowed to spin dash.
Yeah, boy, yeah, it's a boy only thing. Shadow does it too, and well, Big could if he tried, because anyway,
he's already got the shape for
it. Yeah. I lost my train of thought. Sorry. Oh no, I like how they also in that fight scene with Sonic grinding on a robot down the stairs, and it's a very tight stairwell, and the camera follows him, and it's really good.
Yeah.
There's also the sequence where he's leading them away as they're trying to break through into the core where the New York shard is. And I mean, it feels like if you were filming a Sonic Boost level where he's on the the little strip of ground, and the Dr. Deep and Dr. Babel are following him. And it's some good action. And so, yeah, sometimes I wouldn't say the episodes are padded out. They just have really good action sequences.
I agree. I think I think the animators and whoever was like the supervising animator on this, art director, I think they had like a really good vision for just action in general, but specifically kind of what makes Sonic based action really good. And thinking about it now, I actually want to like check out more of this production house's stuff, including that Mega Man show, to see if that's been an ongoing thing of like really good action in their series.
Yeah, the most familiarity I have with that Mega Man show is we bring them up a lot because I can say for my Sonic opinions tend to be in line with hers, but Bobby Schroeder over on her blog shared her thoughts on Sonic Prime, and it basically comes down to a lot of the things we're saying is like, hey, it's actually a really nice show. And I believe she was familiar with the Man of Action's last show, the Mega Man
Fully Charged.
Yes, it's not powered up, that was a game. It's Mega Man Fully Charged. But I believe that show turned out to be pretty okay, and even had some tie-in comics as well. And you should also go play Bobby's game that has finally come out, Super Lesbian Animal RPG. It's a really fun, cute little game. Go play it.
But here's the issue, and the Mega Man cartoon had the unfortunate honor of coming out after a fantastic Mega Man comic series, and Sonic Prime had the unfortunate dishonor of coming out after, oh god, Sonic Frontiers, the IDW Sonic comics, various other bits of Sonic media out there, like the Sonic sequel, the Sonic movie sequel.
Yeah, Sonic 2. Yeah, is it insane to say that the most disappointing Sonic thing this year was a Sonic Origins, which mostly got fixed? Oh my goodness, what's the end of Sonic? No, man, we've as the kids like to say, Sonic fans have been eating this year.
Oh goodness, that way. So, but that's kind of the problem in a way. Sonic Prime is really good, but we've also had a taste for how great Sonic can be, you know what I mean? And it's not to downplay the quality of this as a TV show. We've been singing the praises of the art direction and the animation and stuff like that, but we have seen better Sonic writing this year.
Yes. I think that is why, like, for as good as Devin Mack's performance is as Sonic, him being, again, it's not bad, but after going straight from Frontiers, which feels like a world-weary Sonic who is also on a very, has very down-to-earth interactions with his friends in that game. And then here he's kind of wacky and talking a lot. And it's just a contrast. Same thing with little things like, okay, we didn't really bring it up. 2 different actors play Knuckles on Sonic Prime in the English version. Mm-hmm. It's Vincent Tong, like I said, plays all of the alternate versions of Knuckles, but Adam Narada plays, we call him Knuckles Prime, the original Knuckles. And God bless him, he only gets about a half dozen lines in the whole show, including the the weird Hidden Palace pixel flashback that pops up when Sonic meets Dread Knuckles. And it just sounds kind of off. Me and Luke were talking before the show that maybe there was some casting decision made after the fact that maybe Vincent was going to also play the regular Knuckles, but they said, no, we want someone who sounds more like his current game voice, or maybe even a little bit like Idris Elba from the hit Sonic movie. And it really just comes across like Adam is doing a put upon voice that sounds like Knuckles' current English game actor. But it's hard to say it's his fault, but because like I said, Prime Knuckles barely has anything to say, so he doesn't get a chance to a chance to shine yet.
Yeah.
Well, like when it comes to voice actors in Sonic, almost always the problem is like the directors and casting directors, not the actors themselves.
Oh, for sure.
Yes. Or like from what we know, like the producers, like it could have been, and I don't know this, I'm just speculating, especially with Sega's history. Like some producers said like, no, he needs to sound like this, fix it. Or, like we said, all the way back in the Adventure era where they were like, the English actors need to look like their characters. Oh, boy. So, yes, I'm not pointing the finger at anyone. I'm just saying that stood out to me. It was weird to have, multiple Knuckles voices. I don't think any other dub did that. Like, the Japanese one, it's just Knuckles' regular voice doing all the alternate ones. And, yeah, it's kind of weird.
I do really like Vincent Tong's alternate Knuckles because he's not having to force a deep, the deep meathead voice that we're used to in just about every other modern Knuckles take. Yeah. So we get to have a sort of a higher, more varied Knuckles, which, wouldn't you know, that resonates with me, as that's what I've been doing with Sonic FX.
I mean, we get some really different takes on a lot of these characters. Like they're in line with what we expect, but it's also very much their own. Like Brian Drummond's Eggman is kind of a blend of Mike and Jim Carrey.
A little bit.
It's another thing where I say that is one reason I dislike the Council, because I would rather just have more of that Eggman because it's something new. I want to hear more of it, and not the video game playing emo.
On that note, I really hope that Brian Drummond plays Knuckles just for one episode, just so we can get that call back.
Yes,
so we can have it.
Yes, complete the circle. They gave it to him in Dragon Ball Super. Let's bring it around for the Sonic franchise as well.
Yes,
redemption for Underground.
Oh no, there's no redeeming.
Redemption for people involved in Underground.
There you go.
Now the affair.
Yeah, come on, Gary Chalk. We got, like you said, we got more episodes. Bring him on.
I'm just saying, though, Scott McNeil in this would be nice. It is a Canadian cast. The only Sonic, as far as I'm aware, the only Sonic appearance he had was playing, what was his name again? The kangaroo from Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Just wait till me mates Sonic and Tails find out about this. You'll be in trouble.
Oh, yeah. Yep. But yeah, all that to say that most of my big nitpicks are just, like you said, kind of because I'm a big Sonic fan. I would like to see more. There will be more Shadow the Hedgehog. It does seem weird,
whether we like it or not.
Yeah, it does seem weird to have him be this, weaving in these episodes like a few seconds at a time, and then he's part of the cliffhanger. But there's more. What I'm worried about is, okay, the weird thing is, Big is part of the core crew. We've discussed how, I love Big. Big's got it all
renaissance
figured
is
out.
this year.
Yeah.
Yes, we're in the middle of the big renaissance. I'm not sure what he's doing in these episodes because he has one line in the first one in Green Hill. I think he has a couple of grunts and maybe one line in New York City. He's completely in the background in the No Place, the pirate world. And then, I didn't really like his role as Hangry the cat in Jungle Land. It like I said, rewatching it again, it was much less better than they're not saying like, hey, you're fat, you big stupid idiot.
It's just they're all starving and they're getting angry about it.
Yeah, and that's So I wouldn't say you would take Big out of the show, but I am wondering, like, is he also going to get his moment to shine alongside Rouge? Like, is she going to get a big character arc in the next batch of episodes? But, at the end of the day, like, most of my gripes are, like, because I want to see more of the show. Like, I want to see how they do more, how they resolve new things. I think we already said that like, hey, it makes me want to watch more, so it's not all that bad.
We're just going to have to sit and wait until we get some more to be able to fully judge this, because this isn't a full season, Netflix. This is just a bunch of episodes that you expected us to watch at once so that you can see, like, okay, it's successful because they all watched it in one day, apparently. Sorry.
Yes.
Carry on, everyone.
You're correct.
I enjoyed my time watching the show, and I think I can speak to hopefully people like me who, in this streaming age, I don't usually binge stuff even when everything comes out on the same day. I
try not to do that anymore either. I'm right there with you. Curse you, Netflix, for ruining JoJo Fridays, because I really tried to parse out those Stone Ocean episodes, and it just didn't hit the same.
Yeah.
But it was okay. It was good.
But it was cool to be able to like watch like a couple episodes at a time, and then like wait a day or wait another day or however long my intervals were. So with just with how busy I am in day-to-day work life and all that, like I usually had no problem remembering what happened beforehand, but sometimes it was nice to see some of those recaps of just like, oh yeah, I missed that one little part. I think as far as like the story narrative that is at least through these first 8 episodes, which I'm sure is going to be through most, if not the rest of the season, I think the thing that I appreciate the most is like, it seems the mission statement of the show is trying to put Sonic in a light where he's in a way kind of finally learning like the consequences of his actions and the way that he behaves and his attitude. Cause like we keep having these flashbacks to like the first episode or the previous or like the story before the first episode.
Yeah. Like the scene with Amy at the picnic where his friends are teaching him something new.
Yeah. It seems like Sonic is like already in these first 8 episodes starting to like kind of get like, hey, I think I am kind of, I have my head stuck up my butt a little too far, and I think I need to, like listen a little bit more. I don't know, like if they stick with that mission statement that has at least made itself apparent in the first 8 episodes, that's something that's definitely going to keep me coming back, because I want to see how Sonic is redeemed at the end of the show.
I think you're on the right track, because doing a story like that, even with these game elements, like you said, Shadow is here, little stuff like, oh, the birdie is here, so we could say like, oh, well, they've been through Sonic Adventure in some undisclosed period of time. That allows you to jump into the show like without any previous knowledge. And like I said, it doesn't feel out of character. It just feels odd, because while this doesn't contradict, like Sonic Frontiers, the current games, the IDW comics, it feels like it is more adjacent. Like I think on the Bumblecast, which is Ian Flynn's very frequent like question and answer podcast on YouTube and whatnot, I think someone did ask him, he's like, oh well, is Prime canon, quote unquote, and he basically said something like, yes, and I know when it takes place, but I won't say until after the show is over. And if I had to take an educated guess, I would basically say that it takes place before the comics and Sonic Forces, which is also the catalyst for the comics as well. So this is and again, this is just my speculation. I'm not putting words in Ian's mouth. That's what it is. It's like, oh well, when did this happen? It's like, well, it happened after the show. So this is a younger Sonic learning to like appreciate his friends more. Like he's had a moment, when he meets Nine, he realizes like what an impact he had on Tails' life and like how, horrible that would be if that didn't exist. And when he, meets Thorn, he realizes, oh man, the Amy I know, really taught me how to see things from other perspectives and how to get a group of friends to get along. And when he meets Dredd, who is very like listless and doesn't want to do pirating, is not a man of action. He's like, oh, this. Oh yeah, walked right into it again. He's like, oh, this isn't the guardian of the Master Emerald of Angel Island I know. So yeah, I think you're right, Jake, that they did this. This is not only you could apply this storyline to just about any, ensemble cast series, but it does fit Sonic well, in that he is headstrong and, tends to act first before thinking, at his worst moments. And that, yeah, it sure seems like he is learning that he needs to rely on his friends and be more thoughtful of them going forward.
I mean, it's like it's post-Sonic Lost World where, what, he did that real dumb thing and that reminds me of what happens here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it just feels, it feels different to what, okay, backwards, reverse it. It really does feel like if we hadn't gotten some of the best Sonic experiences in a while this year, we wouldn't be so critical of this one part.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's bad. It is just we have an embarrassment of Sonic riches at this point, with more to come.
If this came out during like the bad Sonic years, it would have been like, oh, what is this beacon in the darkness?
Not even the bad Sonic years. If this came out during even just 2 or 3 years ago, this would be.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, like when the only game that came out was Team Sonic Racing, and all we had basically was the comics to go off of. If it had come out during that window, I think that we would have been like way more kind of riding that high,
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Because I have, you said you've seen a lot of like non-Sonic fans, non-crazy Sonic fans like us say like, yeah, that's a really good show. I would put it on for anybody. Whereas I have also seen some friends and mutuals of mine who are, deep in the paint with Sonic saying like, yeah, it's just not clicking. Like I even saw someone say like that I still have not had the perfect Sonic show. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah. I do think I liked it more on my second watch than my first, but that's just me.
I think sense. So too. I appreciated the good parts more, and I still don't like the Chaos Council, which is again, I don't like them because I would just rather have more fun things with Eggman. That's for sure.
I'm hopeful that now that the Chaos Council has the ability to send agents cross dimensions, they will be a more active presence, and we can get more of that Eggman fix that we've been so sorely denied over these last few episodes.
It's just like you were saying, Jeremy. People have like said that they still haven't had their perfect Sonic show. And that's understandable because every single version of the Sonic cartoon has had like a caveat, like Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Well, it's a bit silly, isn't it? Sat AM, it's not really Sonic, is it? Sonic Underground, it's Sonic Underground, isn't it? Sonic, and like Sonic X Humans, blah blah blah. And this one also is like, initially you're like, hey, this has got the most Sonic-y Sonic stuff that we've had in a cartoon or just about any media product, and they immediately chuck it away to be like, anyway, other stuff, and it's entertaining stuff, but there's still part of me that's like, look at IDW and it's telling stories in the Sonic world. Do you not want to do that? It's really good,
Yeah.
Nah, I'd rather have like cave people and pirates, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because I did think like, well, what, how do you just do the games? And I realized, oh yeah, it's IDW. It's what they're doing now.
Right,
like as we're recording, they just wrapped up these Scrapnik Island miniseries, and holy cow, what a cool, unique, short little Sonic story that is also feels like Sonic, like also has, our characters, it has a bunch of stuff from older games, but also the tone and the premise is something I've never seen in Sonic, which is like body horror and robots, and it's so good. You should go read it. But I'm realizing, that would be like, quote unquote, my perfect Sonic show is just stuff like that is very much adjacent to the games, introduces its own stuff, characters like Whisper and Tangle and concepts like that. But yeah, maybe someday in a perfect world.
Well, they'd have to get Ian Flynn, wouldn't they?
They sure seem to have him now. Yeah.
They got him as a consultant.
They got him on the Rolodex, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if we see his name pop up as a writer for an episode, like down the line.
Another narrative thing that I wanted to bring up was I definitely want to see how this pans out in the rest of the season. But as of these first 8 episodes, I think it's a really interesting choice to make Amy kind of the prime antagonist of of the episodes, because in in New York City. Well, in New York City, like, we have the Chaos Council, but really Amy Rusty Rose is the one who kind of more actively thwarts Sonic and the rebels.
She's the one that hops Shatter versus to chase after them too.
Yeah, in the jungle world, she is, she's the monster that keeps whacking them up to the sun. She doesn't have an antagonistic role in the Pirates episodes, but that's why I said I think it's a really interesting choice to make Amy more often times than not the antagonist or villain of some of these episodes, because that's a side that we haven't really seen before in like Sonic media, unless there's some comics that I just don't know about. But
well, it's like we were saying, is now like Amy is presented as like more down to earth. She's very caring. She is very focused on others. And she did have a wild side with her big crazy hammer, which usually would only come out if, like, you're gonna take my Sonic away from me. But I think, yes, like you said, it is an interesting contrast that, yes, Amy is bad, or the source of conflict in a lot of these episodes.
Yeah, Amy used to be antagonistic, not necessarily an antagonist, though.
Right.
Yeah. It's interesting. I wonder if that carries forward, or like we've said, in these next batches of episodes, maybe it'll focus on other characters. I hope it's, as much as I'm interested in it, I hope the fact that now that Shadow's here, like all right, Shadow's here, everybody else get in the back seat.
I know, yeah. Or he'll punch you.
He'll punch you and he'll end all the episodes, apparently.
The one thing I learned from you, Sonic, was how to yeet someone into Minecraft. Prepare yourself.
Oh no, Sonic learned Chaos Control, and that's what he learned from Sonic.
Speaking of yeeting, there was one physical action that I noticed happened mostly a lot in like the first couple episodes when Sonic was getting used to his shoes, but then just a lot through a lot of the episode, Sonic runs into a lot of walls. Like a lot.
Yeah.
like in New York City, in the jungle, he is like constantly either being knocked into or run into walls. And maybe that's just something my weird brain noticed. Only me.
Sonic Shorts Prime coming next year.
I was gonna say.
But it seems like a lot of the violence that happens to Sonic is very wall based.
Yes, I do. Again, especially watching it, or watching it again, I appreciate a lot of the. I wouldn't actually call it slapstick. It is funny, but yes, that it is focused on Sonic and definitely his performance, like both the animation and the actor. Like, I really laughed at it more. Like, I less thought like, "Geez, Sonic, get your shit together," and more like, "Oh, this is funny." Like, it is funny to see Sonic like get hit by a truck and shake it off.
And like they even acknowledge it. Sonic at one point says, "Not used to being this closed in." So it's like he's used to those wide open Green Hill spaces.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think specifically mentions in the the jungle how he can't really open it up because there's too much foliage.
So I guess the big question after all this is, do we think this is going to go longer than the 24 episodes we know it's going?
So
I don't think so.
I'm trying not to be my normal cynical self when it comes to looking into the business aspect of the Sonic franchise, but doing some research, I did, see when they finally dropped a press release for this, announcing it from Sega and Netflix and Wild Brain and Man of Action, yada, 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 every party involved. Sega sure did seem to say that they viewed Prime as a synergy to bring more awareness to the Sonic brand and that they weren't actually worried about it making any money. So what that tells me is, they've announced they've got a toy line coming out. They've got funny Halloween costumes coming out. They've put Nine and Rusty Rose in the Sonic mobile games. That even if it does really good, and I think it has, according to Netflix's bullshit fake numbers that they make up anyway. It's done really well so far. I think these 24 episodes are it, man. Like, they don't need an ongoing show to keep Sonic in the forefront of potential consumers' minds. It's just another thing out there. And again, not to say it's not good. Like, a show can be, Sonic is a mascot character. He's meant to sell video games. It can still be good, but I definitely think they just looked at this as like, hey, what would be good to put out right now is Sonic is having a renaissance of things coming out. Another Sonic TV show that is not bad.
If it does exceed 24 episodes and goes on for a whole other season, it will outdo Sonic Sat AM. Just putting that out there for all you Sat AM fans out there.
Because what I immediately think is, I know it's called Sonic Prime, but I mean, there ain't no way you can come up with, unless they're going to start revisiting Cowboy World in season 2, that they would probably have to pivot to something else as far as an ongoing story. And
well, this is all building up to the moment where Sonic finally gets the matrix of leadership and becomes Sonic Prime. I've been sitting on that joke for an hour and a half.
You got the touch.
Puts a whole new spin on transform and roll out.
Also, I'd like to point out that literally every other Sonic show has surpassed Sat AM in episode count.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. Now you mention it, but it's funny to have another one.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess Sat AM is the one, that has the most tragic cliffhanger, I suppose. Yep. It's really stuck in everyone's minds.
Yeah, it's wild how Shadow just punches Ixis Naugus and then the show ends.
Do we have any speculation for what's going to happen next in the story? And by that, I essentially mean, what other cliches are they going to hit with these alternate Shatterverse?
We've already talked about cowboys.
Cowboys is natural.
Yes. They're going to do a superhero episode, so all you STC fans start quivering in fear.
Oh no! Not the superhero arc.
The Y monkeys are lurking in the background, just waiting to emerge.
Oh, no. Why indeed?
Now they go really Star Trek with it and do a ancient Rome/Greece and a gangster planet,
or just straight up Star Trek space episode.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see it.
Hey, that used to be all the rage. Hey, remember, what was it, Muppet Babies Star Trek? Yeah. And man, every cartoon was doing Star Trek.
Hey, remember the last season of Sonic X?
Hey, now I'm on board. Okay.
Literally. Also, Chris McFeely mentioned it, and I feel like I'd elaborate on it. Either like an anime / samurai movie parody, because Dr. Deep is right there, and you know he would love that. So it's possible.
I would love a more nuanced, like Kurosawa parody than like a, less like a, like a 90s cartoon. Everybody would just make fun of Godzilla dubs. Like, we are beyond that as a culture. Yes, give me a cool, make it black and white, do an aspect ratio, do like a Kurosawa samurai
give me
thing.
7 Sonics.
Let's say, it's not just because I just watched it for the first time. Do a Rashomon episode where we get a perspective from each different character, and it all comes together in the end.
That's 2 episodes in a row we've had a Rashomon reference. That's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, I mean, hey, this guy who just watched Rashomon voice, this sure does remind me of Rashomon. Whatever. It's
I love that
movie.
your most recent cultural thing is something like Rashomon, and mine is like, hey, I just watched the Transformers the movie recently. That was pretty cool.
It takes all kinds. I'm not sniffing my own farts over here watching I watch silly old stuff as well.
And we also just finished watching Sonic Prime on Netflix.
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. I'm ready for more.
I want to see more, which is about the highest praise I can give any show after 8 episodes.
Yes, as we've said.
I am. That said, I'm not about to say how it ranks against any other Sonic show because it is way too early.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it could be, it could be really good. It could totally shit the bed.
Exactly.
I hate to say.
You'd think we would wait to talk about this when it was done, but we don't know when that's going to be.
Right. Yeah.
So we might as well get our thoughts out now and see how it goes.
It will be interesting to track how our thoughts on this show change as it progresses.
It also gives us easy episode ideas.
Exactly. You'll be seeing us react in semi-real time and shifting the schedule around as new episodes are announced.
Yeah,
that's how it's going to work. That's how it's worked so far, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's it for me, unless anyone else has some last minute words on the future of the Sonic Prime. That specifically.
That ending credits theme is too catchy and I want it to stop.
Okay, yes, that I forgot to say that I do like the music on the show. It fits. I even think it's what is it, Stephen Andrews, who's I really like. First time I heard his stuff was on My Little Pony. It's really good there too. But yeah, the music there are a few game themes woven in there, mostly for the little pixel flashbacks. There is a cool Hidden Palace remix.
Hidden Palace mixed with Knuckles theme from Sonic and Knuckles.
Yeah, it's neat. But yeah, it does feel pretty good. I mean, I hate to say that I weigh it against the Sonic movie scores, which I was real cold on because they're just kind of generic orchestra. But this one does have some Sonic appropriate rockin' guitars that kick in. But yeah, what I kind of wish is that it had a theme song. The ending credits theme seems like someone should be singing lyrics over it, and I think it would work. It's pretty catchy.
It doesn't really have an opening, other than just the title grab, and sometimes it will it will change based on what world they're in. So you'll get either the jungle theme or the pirate theme or stuff like that. But I just feel like so many good Sonic shows have had good opening theme. I wouldn't say that opening themes are a lost art now, but when it's on Netflix and they want people to get buckled in as soon as possible.
That's kind of the curse of streaming television, is that because they know that everybody can just hit the skip intro button anyway, they just do these little 5-second kind of light instrumental things, and that's it. That's one of my problems with Transformers Earthspark, another show I really like, is that it doesn't have a theme song. It's just that kind of light ooh as the logo fades in, and that's it.
I know we can always count on anime to have opening songs. I'm currently obsessed with the Chainsaw Man one.
It's real good.
Completely tangentially, just look it up on YouTube if you're not interested in the show. Yellow Jackets is a pretty cool show it's also coming back this year. Man, that show has a kick-ass intro that feels like it was plucked out of a bygone era. It makes it a little pang of hurt. Like, oh man, I wish Sonic Prime had a cool intro. Like, okay, Sonic Booms is on the lowest tier of Sonic intros, but it still has one.
Yeah, it even has an extended version.
Wish it had a nice catchy theme song, but the credits theme is there.
The credits theme certainly is there, and I'm sure we will be hearing a lot more of it whenever this show comes back. And when it does, we will be there ready to cover it just like this.
And if it's been announced by the time this episode comes out, I'm sure Jeremy will put a little edit here saying when it's coming out. If it's already happened, then, we're severely outdated again. Sorry, everyone.
See you in a few months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that brings us to the end of our episode. So you can find me on Twitter at CyberLink420.
You can find me on Twitter at GreatJobJeremy. That's GR and the number 8. And also around the internet as GameBuddy, sometimes with a 123 on the end.
And you can find me at Twitter and most socials at Faulerro. That's FAULERRO.
Gotta love that jingle.
Apparently.
I say it every time. You can find me on all the socials as RockTheJake, and you can find me on Twitch as Mr. RockTheJake.
And of course, special thanks as always go to Amy Waters for the use of our theme song from the album Gotta Go Slow. You can check out more of her work on YouTube and Bandcamp. And please remember to subscribe, review, share the show around, etc., because we really want to do things up big this year, and you guys helping us, spread the word, getting the podcast out there really does make a tremendous difference.
You just reminded me it's a new year, and I've just been saying all this Sonic stuff that came out this year. No, the past year.
We can't even claim that we're still recording in 2022.
I know it's bad.
It's okay.
2023 is a year. People maybe share us around more. Maybe, please, thank you.
Please and thank you.
All the cool Sonic stuff that's come out in the last 365 days.
Exactly.
Yes, there you go.
Exactly.
Perfect.
So what are we going to talk about next time?
So I believe in the schedule, our next episode should fall on May the 5th. As you know, they're very close to another day, I suppose. So that was my excuse to us to do an episode on the Death Egg, because this is a big old Star Wars parody, isn't it? So,
all right.
This Death Egg is a fun topic. Just generally, Sonic space stuff is really fascinating to me. I feel like the Death Egg is something that was a part of Sonic's past that went away for a long time. Then Sonic Generations came out, and suddenly you see that big dopey face everywhere now in Sonic.
Yep.
I want to talk about Sonic and space stations, because I just think they're really cool. So that's what we're going to be doing in this Star Warsian month. We're going to be talking about the Death Egg. I hope you're as excited about that big face as I am.
Every single day.
A little something to be excited for on Revenge of the 5th.
Oh, there you go.
But until then, I'm CyberLink.
I'm GameBuddy.
I'm Faulerro.
And I'm RockTheJake, and holy cannoli, the Graven Idol's roar has set off a trans-dimensional reality quake!
Oh, it's relevant.
Oh my goodness.
That's a pull right there.
Thanks for listening to The Hill is Always Greener. We'll see you on the other side.